what's everyone's like honest thoughts on celebrating a birthday as an adult human being? Like,
Just in
I mean,
general.
like, I don't know. To me, the older I get, I realize I think birthdays are a kid's thing, right? Like, I think as an adult, if I have to either like my life probably really sucks or like something else is bad to where I have to like celebrate a birthday. All right, Alex, so it's a new year, right? What is it right now? Like second week in January?
Maybe.
And I've just been feeling like bitching a lot about stuff recently. And you're probably like, what's new? I've always been doing that. But I figured this would be fun to do. This kind of came as an inspiration from one of our friends, Deren, who's been on the podcast a few times. There's a podcast he used to listen to in dentistry, and I don't recall the name of it, but I'm sure he can tell us in a second, where they would kind of just go through and talk about either things that they've seen in like the dental Reddit forums or on Facebook groups, and make it part of a bitch session, right? Because I feel like sometimes it's fun to do that, but also maybe like give our thoughts or opinions on some of this
So
stuff.
are you saying you've been using Facebook as research for this podcast?
Yes, this is my excuse. This is my excuse for constantly spending like 3 hours on
Gotcha.
Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes
well,
sense.
you're doing real work. This is what I'm doing, which I feel like has been my life. So Brennon and Deren are coming on with us just so we can go over some of this stuff. I feel like they're good to come on because Brennon, as a lot of people know, had created Flex Dental, right? And kind of built that from the ground up. So technical wise, right? Like he understands kind of how things actually work if you're trying to like build dental software. And so I feel like there's a lot of things people say about that. And so he's kind of hopefully going to be helpful with that. And Deren's done like, I don't know, pretty much everything in dentistry, right? He's either done like, he's been the head, didn't you? Okay. So I'm going to list some of these and then these are going to be botched, but you can correct me. But I know you worked for a dental insurance company, right? And we're like I don't know if the head of that is right or like the clinical director of that, right? You've had, you did a startup practice before. You helped with co-founding like Medento. I feel like there's 10 other things you've done. You've had a podcast at some point. Like Deren has been like a jack of all trades within everything. So I feel like you have opinions on most things, which is cool. So thanks for coming on.
I've got a variety of experience for sure. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So I think we just go into it. So, all right, I want Brennon. Can you share with us? So to take a little back step, we kind of independently kind of thought of some things that we were like, yeah, either like this is controversial that we see going on, or like what are people's opinions on this? They get a lot of comments, and we figured we could kind of do our own little like comment section within that. Okay. So Brennon, you get to start with this.
Well, before we go, I want to give credit where it's due. I believe the podcast was Working Interferences. I know it was Lance Timmerman and specifically Josh Austin who did the whole like, let's go pull a thread from Reddit and talk about that. So I think it was Working Interferences, but I definitely know it was Josh Austin and Lance was his co-host at the time.
Nice.
Yeah, I grabbed a couple of these. So I can start with probably the most controversial first. Do you want me to just read it or kind of paraphrase what it's about? How do you want me to present this?
I also need you to do it in like a British accent, if that's possible.
Oh, that I can't do. Not well.
No.
Okay, is this like acting class?
Yeah,
like
this is part acting. Yeah, you didn't know this? Sorry, guys. No,
so
go
this,
through.
This
was
was
read the post.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, read it.
Okay. So this was a Facebook post from an anonymous participant. I said, I don't understand the war on hygienists. I really don't. I see so many spiteful and negative comments towards hygienists from dentists, office managers, and other employees. There's been so much, I'm assuming this is mistreatment, I found on patients from them coming in routinely to see me. Moral of the story here, it's a long post, but the gist of it is, why is there so much conflict and tension between other employees in a dental office and hygienists?
I don't know. So, I mean, let's take it from your perspective first, right? Like Deren, Alex, and I are all dentists. Your wife's a dentist, right? She worked in a practice. As someone who's an outsider, what do you see from your perspective? Because I know we all have very strong opinions on it.
Yeah. So without getting myself into too much trouble, since this is kind of a spicy topic, in general, as an outsider, and I'll preface by saying that, I write code, right? That's what I do. I'm a software engineer. I'm not curing cancer here. I don't think any of us are, going out and solving world hunger. So just as like a baseline level, I think we need to humble ourselves a little bit. Like when my wife was starting her practice and I was helping, like I'd clean toilets. Like I don't think anybody is above cleaning the bathroom if it needs to get done. So I think there's an element among everybody in the field of like, you need to respect me and my position and my education. And I think sometimes there's this tension that's created between dentists and hygienists in that regard, because hygienists are feeling a lack of respect for their credentials and the work that they put in. And then dentists on the flip side are like, well, I went to dental school. I'm curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are as dentists, since I am not. But that's kind of from an outsider perspective, what I'm seeing.
Oh, Alex.
Don't get me started. No, I don't know. It's so difficult because I understand like they don't feel respected and stuff. And at the same time, it's like they're asking for like so many specific things. They're like, I need this specific prophy paste. I need this specific instrument. I need all of that. And it's like, yeah, I'd love to give that to you, but I am also the owner of the practice and I have bills to pay and expenses. And if I can do that, if I don't pay you $80 an hour or whatever it is, like there has to be, I think because like pay comes into it, like I'd love to give you $100 an hour. Like, sure, that's fine. But like the reality is that we have to make decisions on what money to allocate to what. And sometimes I'm sorry, you can't get your expensive tools or whatever it is.
I think there's a big gap between they're providers, just like dentists are providers, but in a lot of times they're not the owner of the practice. So there's a big gap between an understanding of like what things actually cost. And so, yeah, like for me, if I'm totally different hats too when you're an owner versus an associate. When I was an associate and I was working for a DSO, I wanted the best of everything. Why? Because it doesn't affect me, right? Like I'm going to get paid my percentage and I can make an argument that I want the top end of this and this and this and this because I can make an excuse of I can do better dentistry then, right? And I don't see that any of the consequences with the cost associated with it. But the second that I owned a practice, now everything is generic, right? Like it sucks, but like that's kind of how I think our mindset kind of shifts maybe as dentists. Is it just switches to like I had one, like Deren has told me before, like I had one bucket of money, which was a W-2 employee or what I made as a dentist. But now if I own a practice, now I have two buckets. So now I have to think about both those. So you have one person whose hat of owner and dentist thinking about how does this affect me from these two perspectives. And then everyone else in the office is not an owner and they're only thinking of it from their one perspective. So I think it creates this tension. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it.
Do you think it's purely a financial thing that's causing it? Or do you think it's more of like the social aspects and human interaction?
I don't know. I think it kind of shifted at like COVID time or so. Like I don't think before there was like really a big issue with, you have those long-term hygienists that are there. Like I, bought that practice in Newport and had an older hygienist that was there, but making kind of normal pay kind of thing. Yeah, some issues, but not, I don't think there was like a disrespect thing or anything like that. I think it really did shift with like, hey, you guys need me more than whatever. And you need to pay me for that. And I'm going to come up with this arbitrary number of like however much money. And so I think there was a shift, and I think it does have to do with the money.
I think it does too, because I don't know if you, Deren, ever had an issue. I never had an issue like socially with any hygienist. I know before then there was a lot of like bitching about like the hygienist that is a diva, right? And stuff like that. And maybe that happens sometimes. There's dentists who are like that too. Like we've all worked with dentists who like suck and they have to be called like doctor all the time, right? And kind of have that like they put themselves on a pedestal. But I don't think that's because you're a hygienist or you're a doctor. I think that's just who you are as a person, right? And you probably just suck. But so I think with COVID, what happened is, and it kind of happened the same thing. I feel like it affected with nurses and hygienists. Like those two groups went to like traveling or kind of.
Well, they all went temporary.
They all went temp working, right? And so you had these platforms coming out like Cloud and all those that created an opportunity where it was easy for them to find temp work. They found out they could get paid $10 to $20 more an hour, and who wouldn't want to do that? So I think I don't think the model fully shifted, but the same thing happened with nurses. My sister, right? She worked at like Riley Children's in Indianapolis, right? Whatever she was getting paid, they incentivized the hell out of her to stay full time because so many nurses were leaving and just taking temp jobs and were like trying to game the system. So I feel like that also happened for some reason in dentistry. I don't know if you guys have thoughts on why that tended to happen, but then their pay got inflated and then that just became the new normal, right? And they don't want it's really easy to give people more money. It's really hard when you have to take it back down and normalize it. I don't know. That's just me.
I want to give a little different perspective. I was letting you guys go first. I kind of think it's a couple issues that are related, in my opinion. So the first one is, and this is kind of related to what Alex said a minute ago, like something happened at COVID, which is that literally the floor and the ceiling of what they make are exactly the same and offered to them on day one coming out of school. Like there is no career progression with financial part of it. Like the chick that comes out on day one at a hygiene school and the gal that's been with me for 20 years are paid the exact same. And there's no like reward or incentive for any sort of longevity or advancement or any of that kind of stuff. And the second part is kind of related to that, which is what I just said a second ago, which is like the advancement in their career, like the job they do, the skills they have, like they might get better with like repetition of like selling, preheating for treatment or like, the office dynamics and stuff. Like they might settle into that and become better at that over time. But functionally, they do the same job the day they walk out of school as they do in year 20, unless you're getting really advanced. And then it feels like you're doing a totally different version of hygiene if you're using like microscopes and saliva tests and like, really getting into what's going on in your mouth as a healthcare provider. Like, this isn't meant to be offensive, but as long as you're just scraping teeth and polishing teeth and maybe occasionally pointing out something on an x-ray or something you saw clinically, like that doesn't build value over time. Like in the same way that the pay is the same on day one, the ability is the same on day one as year 20, unless you really do advance your skills. And that requires the office and the doctor and everybody else to like buy into the CE and the equipment and the workflow and the mindset that goes into thinking about what you're doing as a true healthcare provider and not just somebody scraping teeth, getting the gunk off and sending them on their way. So I think it's kind of a mix of both of those things, and it's not really their fault totally. Like the hurdle to clear to go from what you're trained to do and what you come out of school doing and what's possible is a big hurdle, and it takes a lot of process commitment and financial commitment, CE, all the things that go into like all of that training to make that what your office does. And then supply and demand economics have dictated that like they can ask for anything they want on day one. And because doctors need them, they've been paying it. And so that's created this kind of, anger or whatever with the older hygienists who've been like, I'm doing this for 20 years and I can't go anywhere. Like they're already coming out at the place that I've been at. So like, how do I advance? How do I get more money? And so those kind of two things are similar but different, but that's kind of some of the stuff I feel is going on in hygiene and dentistry. So I don't know if you guys agree, disagree, or have any other flavor to add to that.
So like this just happened literally 2 days ago, or no, 2 days ago, it would have been a Sunday. So last week. So like 5 or 6 days ago. One of our assistants is working on going to hygiene school, right? She wants to advance. She wants to do all that kind of stuff. And I was asking her about it. So in Colorado, there's a couple programs, but she said it is still crazy competitive to get in. And if we know there's already like, I don't have the numbers. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say there is probably a gap between how many hygienists we need and how many are willing to work. Not how many are available, but how many are willing to work the hours, right? that she was saying like, yeah, this school, it only lets in a certain amount of people. So many people get rejected. And it's like, man, why? Like, are hygiene schools just not profitable and they're so badly run that like people don't want to open more hygiene schools? Like, is the barrier to opening them very difficult? Like, I don't know what's causing that, but you'd think if you just increased the supply of hygienists, it would help. For us in our practice, our biggest challenge had been forever getting that ratio of like 1 doctor to 2 hygienists, right? And so I had to go back and do like a crap ton of hygiene, which I didn't want to do. So that's the challenges we've had.
I mean, a lot of states are trying to solve that through some sort of qualification for an assistant who's either got some sort of tenure or takes CE, and then they can do like a, the basics of hygiene, whether it's super gingival scaling or, some more stuff that currently an assistant can't do, but it's kind of the lower level hygiene tasks, so that the hygienist can do hopefully higher level versions of what they're doing, or the majority of what they do is like the bigger stuff. It's kind of the same thought process as assisted hygiene, but just approached from a different angle, where the assistant is not assisting the hygienist. It's actually allowing them to see some part of the hygiene appointment. But, that's only in a few states. I don't know that there's a lot of data or feedback on it yet. Obviously, hygienists are pushing back against that because they want to guard their profession, and I get it. But from like an employee or an employer and a access to care and all the cliche words that they throw out, like there needs to be more hygienists to be able to serve more patients, and people are trying to get creative in how they pursue it, but I don't know that there's really an answer other than kind of what you suggested. Like there needs to be more hygienists at some level, and I don't know how we get there, but that's something to think about.
Did you guys ever see that post that was like, it broke down a hygienist's like appointment or whatever and like put dollar amounts by each one? Do you remember? I like vaguely remember that one, and I was like, what the hell is this?
Oh no, what it was trying to do is, it was a post that was trying to say like, here's all the things that we do as hygienists, and here's a number that I've determined that it's worth, right?
Yeah.
So a subjective number.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know, something crazy like $800 worth of value, right? So I felt like it was an influencer trying to tell me to take his course, and he like
you get this and you get this.
Yeah, it's like this hygienist.
This money.
This hygienist like watched a Russell Brunson like video on like how to create value, right? And was like, hey, take this course. It's worth $5,000.
I don't think it was a course, but obviously there was a big disconnect between like what we see as valuable, and that's valuable, but like, sorry, like counting your teeth is not like worth like $80 or whatever it is.
Or it's like each probing is 5 cents. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I think there's a big disconnect there. And as soon as assistants are allowed to do hygiene, like I'm opening my model of like my hygiene bars, because that's totally gonna work. I swear. That's how. I'll go back to work.
And everyone's gonna have perio disease.
Everyone does already have perio disease.
The disconnect with that, like, let me show you the value, is like ultimately there has to be the other end of the marketplace, which is who's willing to buy it for that value. And currently no patients would pay that out of pocket, and definitely no insurance companies are covering that at the rate that you say it's worth. So like the issue there is we do need them. We need more of them than there currently are. So they're able to ask for quite a bit, but the ability to actually make money on their services is pretty capped and pretty low compared to what they're asking for. And that's the current issue, is the delta between what they make and what the practice makes by them being there is pretty small, and isn't where it needs to be for a healthy business to operate. And so that's the issue that owners are coming into, which is I can't make more money on what you do because of my contracts and or what a patient would be willing to pay for what you do. So how can you justify charging me more for your services when I make no money on you? So that's the issue right now. And like I said, it's not really 100% anybody's fault or anyone's fault, but that's kind of the thing that people are coming up against.
So now that we just solved hygiene, right? That's all done. So one thing I was thinking about to ask you, Brennan, is, Deren was saying how like we kind of get squeezed as business owners and stuff like that. And I feel like there's a trend that like, I think Alex and I, Deren, we're probably all like, I don't know if guilty is the right word, but it's like, oh, well, let's do something else, right? And so I think a lot of us, who was it? It was someone on our podcast. It might have been Eric Zundo who was on. I'm Maybe it was him. If it wasn't, sorry. But he had said something in our podcast about like, oh, well then just like be a software developer, or be a software engineer, right? Then you'll make way more money and it's way easier. I wanted your perspective because I think we've talked about this before. I feel like there's a lot of dentists who are like, let me get out of dentistry. Here, I'll either start something new, or like if I could go back again, that's what it was. If you could go back again, would you have your kids do dentistry or dental school? And everyone's like, no, F that. I don't want to do that, which I don't know if we would, right? Like our kids are too young. But a lot of people are like, I would just go back and be like in tech, right? Can you shed some light on how awesome your field is and how everyone makes $500,000?
Yeah, so I've seen those posts. I know what you're talking about. They always, there seems to be like this, like I have a neighbor and he makes $800,000 a year. Like they always have that, like that one anecdote that they assume would apply to them. So kind of the corollary in dentistry would be if I said, hey, I want to be a dentist. I know this guy, he owns 27 practices. He's making $8 million a year or more. The frequency at where people are actually making that much money is vanishingly small. Like you're talking sub 1% that are making that sort of money. It's like the tippy top of the tippy top that are able to pull in that much money. There is a lot of money to be made in tech, and it's minting new billionaires every day. But at the same time, you're competing globally, especially if you're kind of more boots on the ground, the people actually doing the work and not just going out there trying to find investors. But if you're actually in tech, writing code, being an engineer, you're competing not just with people in the United States, but in Europe, in Asia, in South America now. And so the average salaries are there's tremendous downward pressure on them. So the majority are making less than $100,000 a year. It's still a good living, but you're probably going to be making a lot more as a dentist than you would as a software engineer, just statistically.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, right? Because like we all, Alex, Deren, and I all fight and say, hey, this area is saturated, and we're just talking in like a 5-mile radius or a 10-mile radius, or it's so small, right? And the game is way smaller, right? And I get what you're saying, like, and we're not competing. We don't have to compete with. Put it this way, we don't have to compete with like the salaries that dentists in Mexico are making, right? And it's not like patients can go and say, I mean, we have some patients that go to Mexico, right? Sure. But it's not like a majority. It's not like everyone can choose. Like with the stuff we're working on, right? Brennon, like our software stuff, or with Deren, we can say we can outsource that and go to India or go to Pakistan or go to Brazil, right? And you can get that for so much cheaper, that labor cheaper than you could in the US. And I mean, I guess you could make an argument maybe there could be a quality difference there, but like I don't know for how long it'll be. Maybe it'll start to normalize a little bit. Who knows? My point is, like, as dentists, it is a lot easier from the fact that it's not like we have to even lower our fees more because we have to compare ourselves to what it would cost that patient to go get a crown done in like Venezuela.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to your point, it's like if your veneer fees were being compared against Turkey or something like that.
It'd be like an Upwork version of dentistry, right? Like you can
absolutely.
Right. Let's start that one.
It's a tough field. There's a some people are saying there's an oversupply now because there was so much interest for so long. There are these things called boot camps that you spend 12 weeks. They teach you how to write code, and then you push you out into the world. So that was putting out a lot of people that could write code. There's arguments to be made in terms of quality, like how good are they or not. I don't take a firm position on that. But there's a lot of people right now, especially with AI coming in, and it's, writing code is kind of ripe for disruption from AI since it's so good at it.
Okay, so what do you guys see then? What do you guys see then with the whole AI writing code, right? And I know, Deren, like you're working on like an AI receptionist piece. So even if you're not writing code, like you're still working with developers, right? You're still in part of that field, right? And then Brennon obviously knowing how to do it. I'll see some people will post and some people have groups, right, that are based on like how to use AI automations, right? And I feel like AI can do a lot of cool stuff. But where are the where are the limitations with it? Because like we'll listen to podcasts, we'll hear things, and they're like, it's always like, wait 6 more months, wait 6 more months. Now it's going to be able to do this, then it's going to be able to do this. And is there really a point where you see maybe AI fully replacing someone writing code, and literally like an idiot like me as a dentist who knows nothing about how to code could literally say like, I want to create an app that allows me to take a picture of a patient and it'll automatically show how the teeth will move, right? Like if they do Invisalign, or how their smile design would look, something like that. Like, do you feel like that's actually going to happen at some point and possibly in the near future?
Do you want me to take that, or do you want to do that one, Deren?
Yeah, you can start. I'll jump in after you.
Yeah, so it's really difficult to predict the future and what that will look like. It is getting better at a pretty remarkable pace. I don't know if there will be a ceiling on that. So present day, if I were just to look at the current landscape, you could create an app. You could, just using plain English, tell it what you wanted, and it could make something usable. It would not be production ready. It's not something that you can take out and sell to, 100,000 dentists.
I mean, you could try. A lot of people do that, I feel like.
You could try. It's not going to go very well. I still think their software engineers are absolutely critical in the process to kind of create guidelines for it and keep it on the rails. AI is tremendously good at spitting out a ton of code really fast. It turns into what's called slop eventually. Like if you are not auditing the process and keeping it in line and writing good instructions and documents for it to follow, it'll go crazy. Where it struggles is really large context. So if you're like, hey, I want you to make me a website, and I want it to have these 4 pages, it'll crush that. Fantastic at that sort of thing. But if you're like, hey, I have this gigantic project that's spans 6 repositories, and I need you to keep all this, all this data in mind. Here's my database schema. It starts to struggle with that because it's just so much context to fit inside this context window. It gets confusing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was writing some stuff down here. I wanted to go back to something Brennan said earlier, which I felt like was kind of the developer version of not throwing the previous dentist under the bus for his open margin, which is like, I'm not going to judge the 12-week boot camp thing. So that was very nice of you. Yeah, I mean, AI definitely, at least currently, has to be very specific. The smaller the task, the better. Like I feel like it's really good at building individual Legos, but it can't build a 1,000-piece set very well. Maybe you can have it build 1,000 Legos, and if you kind of the software developer engineer side of things is like, now I need to know how to put these Legos together to actually make it the thing I want it to be. And I don't know if AI sort of what Brennan said, which is like, it doesn't hold context very well. If the project or the request or whatever gets too big, that's where you really run into trouble. So like even my use case for AI, like when I use ChatGPT, like I've got different projects that are different, like versions of me, if you will. Like here's the dental practice owner version, here's the software version, here's the personal life version, like meal planning or like whatever we're doing. And so to keep those, it can kind of cross reference, and it has some general context around like things that happened over there can apply over here. But if you like literally just kept interacting with the same thread over and over again and tried to make it your whole life, that's where it really fails. And that's where a lot of people come up short when they're trying to develop something too, is like they don't really understand how small the little building blocks need to be. And then they've got to have somebody who's actually good at what they're doing to put it all together for you.
Oh, and I got pissed recently at ChatGPT based on your point, Deren. So I was trying to, it was trying to like come up with some stuff on podcast stuff. So I'll have it like help come up with like, here's a transcript, right? Help me come up with like, here's what I have an idea for titles. Like give me ideas. It helps me a lot with like getting like that first initial thought down. But then if I tell it one thing, sometimes if I say like, forget this, I think it forgets it. It doesn't forget it. And then I'll ask it again, and it'll like remember the thing before. And then I'll start yelling at it and being like, no, stop. You don't get this. You're being dumb, right? And I feel like somehow like...
So I was talking to my developers yesterday, and he actually told me that at least on ChatGPT, the version that I was using, like it only remembers 15 of your conversations. He's like, that's their maximum. He was showing me some other LLMs where you can set it to like 1,000 or like 10,000 or whatever to remember like your very first messages. But it's like, it's not built to like remember everything. So kind of the same point what Deren said, it's like easier for it to handle these like separate projects because there's not like so much in there. But yeah, ChatGPT totally gets things wrong that I have to, again, yell at it too and say, no, don't you remember this? Why am I like having to repeat myself? You sound like I'm talking to Eric here. And it gets annoying. So yeah, I learned that. I just learned that the other day.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, basically you don't see then, not anywhere in the near future do you see like, oh my gosh, like AI is going to be able to do everything for your office. I think people just like, what? I
don't know. I just like, I think the stuff that's presented, like some like random person is like, hey, I built this thing. And it's like, well, who are you?
Yeah.
That, and it's like, I don't know.
No,
I just think there's a lot of crap.
I just think there's a lot of crap. We all know, like everyone knows it. No one just really says it, right? But like, it's someone who's not the technical person who got connected with a technical person somehow, and they were like, hey, we dealt with that, with when we were talking with developers like in a different country, right? Like they're trying to attach to someone. They have a product that they think is good. They can't sell it because either they're in another country, maybe there's a language barrier, whatever there is. Let me attach to a dentist, have him promote and sell my stuff, make it seem like it's his, and then that's how we'll sell it and do it. And I feel like that's been the game plan. So like when you're talking to a lot of people, you're not talking to the person who is in it every day or is building it. You're almost talking to like the salesperson all the time, right? Which I've learned that the hard way when dealing with investments or other stuff. You're not actually talking to the person who understands the business. That's been my experience.
Yeah.
All right, next post.
You want me to throw out a new Reddit topic?
Let's do it.
Okay. This is very general and vague, and I feel like it
sounds super exciting.
Software and dentistry.
Okay.
So this was from 6 days ago in the dentistry forum on Reddit. And the question was, what is a reasonable non-compete? And then the subtext is specific to them looking for an associate contract. They're looking for an associate contract at a local DSO. What is an acceptable distance for urban and rural settings? Have you negotiated them out of the contract? So I feel like there's several places we could go there, whether it's the concepts of non-competes in general. We could specifically answer their question. We could talk about software and stuff like that too. So whatever way you guys want to go with it, I feel like we
non-competes?
could kind of attack different angles.
I don't know. So like 6-7 years ago when I first moved to Colorado, because Alex moved before me, so we moved separately there. You were there first because of the startup. But when I came out, I started working for a DSO, and they had a non-compete in there. And that was at the time where everyone was like, are non-competes real? Are they not? Like, can you just do it and then like ask for forgiveness? I believe they tried to they didn't sue, right? But I think they sent a letter to a dentist who tried to work within the restrictive covenant of what it was. I don't know. Like conceptually, I don't love the concept of it. I think it should be more like, I can understand not soliciting patients actively and saying like, you cannot take my patient list. You cannot call my patient list. You shouldn't be able to initiate calling my team and trying to get them to work for you, because I just don't think it's that cool to do, right? Yeah. Like it's kind of a dick move. But like preventing someone from being able to work somewhere conceptually is kind of tough for me. So like, I don't really think it would be that enforceable. And honestly, I don't know who's going to want to fight it. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that. If you like our podcast, check out Alex's newsletter, Just 2 Minutes. It's full of great advice, which makes sense considering it's her thoughts and not me sidetracking her every 2 seconds. You can subscribe at coupleofdentists.com. The link is in the show notes. Now, back to the pod.
I was going to say, I'm very laissez-faire about that. Like, I agree with everything you just said. Like, there are a couple of specific principles that I think should be adhered to, like you said, like not poaching patients or employees. But I think the majority, software or dentistry practice ownership, like the majority comes down to execution. Like the concept of what we're doing is not, there's no ingenuity here. Like we hang a shingle, we got to market, we've got to, have a clinical suite, we've got to participate or not participate with insurances. Like the business is the business. And in software, like ideas are a dime a dozen, but like, can you build it? Can you sell it? Can you find a market for it? And so I don't really have a problem with literally if my associate wanted to set up shop next door. I know they can't do what I do and how I do it. Like they could literally have worked for me for years, but they don't know every detail. Sort of going back to the ChatGPT thing, like they don't have all of the context that went into how the business works. Like they might have borrowed a system or two or some verbiage or whatever, but we all do that. Like we've all kind of amalgamated our associate experiences or whatever. And like, I like how they said that. I like how finance plans they offered here. I don't like their hours of operation. Like you figure out the things that work for you, and then you try to implement your spin and your best versions of all those things. And so I don't have a problem with anybody opening a practice at any distance from me. That doesn't scare me or concern me. We can talk more specifics about like actually where do your patients come from. And I think that's the real kind of heart of the question is like, how big should I kind of be okay with if I'm going to sign one? But like as a concept, I think they're kind of overdone and aren't necessary. And I don't know if they're enforceable right now. I think there's legislation about that, but I don't think they're really necessary other than like the real specifics that you mentioned.
And I agree with both of you, especially in dental. Like if you have an associate and try and hit them with a non-compete, like what, are they supposed to move if they no longer work for you? It doesn't make a lot of sense there. I don't like them in tech either. At the same time, it makes a little bit more sense to me in tech because the fear in that case is, hey, we wrote all this code. You're going to go work for a competitor now and take all that with you and just plug it in and they're ready to go. So I get the kind of the risk there. I still don't like them. But especially in dental, they don't make a ton of sense.
Well, there's no
I get why they do them, but I don't like them.
Yeah, I mean, I get Deren's point. There really isn't. I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of intellectual property in dentistry, right? Like we've all been trained. Like we go to schools that are all accredited. They have to teach us standard stuff, right? There's no like we can all take the same CE courses, right? Like there isn't anything where is like you could have this genius whiz kid who understood, tech and developed this certain specific code that they figured out on their own that led to some advancement here or there that has value. I just don't see in dentistry unless you developed a new procedure, right? Then you could sell that, but I think we're kidding ourselves if we think we're that special.
So you guys tell me, but isn't the fear from like the dentist perspective that patients are going to follow that individual?
Yeah, I think that is the fear, but like I kind of think of it more as it's not even the associate. Like, okay, I don't want the associate to build a brand new office across the street from me. Yeah, well, guess what? I don't want someone else to build a practice right across from me either. I don't care who it is. I don't want like my little area to have any more dentists at all. Like, I don't care who it is. But like preventing your associate from working anywhere. If there was already an office across the street, already open, and they decided to work there, okay, that's fine. Like to me, that doesn't really matter. It doesn't prevent. They could have their own all-star type of associate and grab patients anyway. So I don't really think that makes
it's
a big difference. But it is a big fear. Like they're going to take everyone. They're going to take all my staff. I'm going to like go bankrupt and because this one associate
and that's probably it's just more that fear mentality, right? Or it's just like just don't be a pussy about it, right? And then just you're gonna have to work harder maybe, right? Like I think we get into this position where we're like, now we own a practice, now we worked hard, now it's like done. Right? Like I don't have to work on it as much.
Do you think
anymore.
It's a red flag? Like if you were the associate and it was like, there's a 20-mile non-compete and all this, like all of this stuff, is that more of like a red flag of like, oh, maybe the owner's a little nuts?
Yeah, I would think the owner's probably a little nuts or is very scared of something.
Yeah.
I probably would think, let me put it this way. If that was on there, I would also think there's other like adjunctive things that are probably weird that they would be doing too, right? Like my pay might be, you get paid 50% of lab, but if you use this lab, it's this amount. If you do that, there's probably a lot of other nuanced stuff that would be in there. And I would probably also question how I'm being paid. Like I would probably be that dentist that would then complain on a Facebook post and say, my pay doesn't match and now my owner's not paying me, right? I would, that probably would happen.
Yeah, well, and to kind of go to their specific question, I can't remember. I think it was the course we took when we opened our practices, but I think they talked about, and I'm suburban. I'm not rural, but I'm not urban. I'm suburban with my practice. And I think something like 50% of my patients come within a mile radius. I'm just ballparking. 75% are 2 miles and like 95% are 3 miles. So if you drew 2 3-mile circles that never overlapped where the center points are now 6 miles apart, theoretically, like, we don't have any competition at that point. Like, there's a very small marginal percentage of people that live outside of my 3-mile circle that might be in your 3-mile circle that would follow you there, but 6-ish miles, definitely not 20 is necessary. Like, if you really wanted to like have something that felt real but still fair, 6, 7, 8 miles, something like that, I think would be fair, but that's about it.
Well, I mean, I think too, it depends, like, what kind of practice do you have, right? Are you a fee-for-service practice? Because I think you could make an argument that, like, their patients are probably seeing you because of you, right? Or your associate, and so, like, there's more risk there. If you're an insurance-driven, like I was saying, we've had several patients and families at our offices who are awesome. They're, like, A-plus patients. Great. The second that we dropped Delta PPO and just took Delta Premier, they literally said, we like you guys, we're going to see someone else. Like, it had nothing to do with us. Yep. And like, don't get frustrated if patients leave like that. Unfortunately, it goes back to money, right? I think is what it is. And so it's like, that's why if you had like a PPO office, I really wouldn't even be that worried either. Because, like, yeah, maybe if they took that insurance too, but like if they didn't want to, put it this way, if you had an associate and you were an insurance-driven practice, and then the associate was like, I'm going to go off on my own and be fee-for-service, I would say, okay, good luck. You can open next door to me. Like, I'm not worried about you. Like, no one's going to take you.
Have you guys ever actually talked to anybody that has had a non-compete where the other party tried to enforce it? I know everybody's afraid of that, but I've never met anybody that somebody actually filed a lawsuit on that.
I mean, what are you going to do, right? What's going to happen? So, like, if it's another private dentist, what's that going to cost you? Like, $10,000 just to get that process started with an attorney. Okay, do I want to spend $10,000 to do that? Do I have the money to do it, right? And then the other person's going to have to come back. Now they're going to have to hire an attorney. Now it's going to take months to do. And then that dentist is probably still going to they're probably on a timeline already, and they probably already started it. So they're probably already working there or starting construction on whatever they're doing. I just feel like it's so time consuming and draining from a time and a money perspective that it's one of those things you want to do, and then when you do a little bit of research, you're like, yeah, this isn't worth it. I should maybe just focus on my practice. Unless they're like just
I think going back to your original point, unless there's like a violation of literally stealing things that you spent time and money to acquire, which is personnel and patient lists, like if it's just doing more dentistry across the street or a few streets over or whatever, like I don't know why that's worth pursuing to anybody, to be honest.
Or like when people are like, you can't, I have my my handbook on how to do like case presentation, like you can't use any of my materials and do that. Dude, screw that. Like every course we've been to, that presenter or whoever's teaching you something, they stole that from someone else who then stole it from someone else. So if anyone thinks they have an original idea, like, it's bullcrap. Like, no one has an original idea in relation to anything dental operations, right? Maybe you've tweaked something, but, like, to think that your handbook that you wrote down is, like, some super special thing, like, good luck with that. Like, it's not. Okay, who else has it? Do you have another one?
Well, I wanted to add one last thing real quick, which is I didn't intentionally, when I brought this up, didn't think about it at the time, but coming full circle to the hygiene discussion, I was at my son's basketball practice last night and just chatting with one of the other dads and learning about what each other did. And he learned that I'm a dentist. and he said, oh, like we go to so-and-so. And I was like, oh, that's kind of far from you because we're in the same school system. He's like, yeah, it's not really even about the dentist. Like we literally follow the hygienist wherever she goes. So like, I don't know if we're even putting the non-competes on the right people, to be honest. Like the people that build the relationships and the rapport are not the dentist necessarily. So
yeah, try to put that on the contract. Try for a hygienist.
Good luck.
Well, you guys saw that. I mean, I don't know. Remember there was that one, people were posting about how like hygienists wanted like a finder's fee for all the patients they brought over.
Yeah,
and I was like, man, like people will throw anything at a wall and try to get that thing to go through. But like, I would never do that.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one here, and I didn't realize how big a thing this was because there was like 120 comments on this one.
Oh, geez.
Let me pull it up. It's a genuine question. Why do team members expect to be celebrated at work on their birthdays? I've never understood it really. It's work. Go do that with your family and friends.
I don't know. We've all talked about this too. Like, really? What's everyone's like honest thoughts on celebrating a birthday as an adult human being? Like, I mean, like, I don't know. To me, the older I get, I realize I think birthdays are a kid's thing, right? Like, I think as an adult, if I have to either like my life probably really sucks or like something else is bad to where I have to like celebrate a birthday, I kind of have switched to the model of like maybe celebrate like I say event, like a birthday. No, but like something that has like actual value attached to it. Like, I don't know, Brennon when he sold Flex, right? Like to me, that's a more important maybe milestone or something to celebrate and to appreciate and to reflect on.
Yeah, like when we sold our practices.
Yeah. Like that kind of stuff, right? Or like if your kid accomplished something, right? Like I would much rather my children be like, I accomplished this and we're going to celebrate this versus like, it's your birthday. Like conceptually, I don't like that. And I like it even less for adults.
And for people that I have to
pay. Yeah. And if this works, then I don't have to get anything for Alex on her birthday. So it kind of goes full circle to be like a lazy husband. So that's
you
good.
Don't get me anything anyway. I just go buy my own presents. And stuff.
I don't know. Oh wait. So sorry.
Yeah, I was going to.
Yeah. Here, real quick.
I was going to expand the thought to Christmas too. Like we've kind of come to the conclusion in our family, like adults don't need to be buying each other gifts. Like we're at the point in our lives where if you want something, like you're probably just going to go get it. And if you don't get the thing you exactly had in your mind from somebody else, then you're disappointed and you bought them something and it could be the same disappointment on the other side. It's like you could have just spent the same money on yourself and enjoyed the thing you wanted in the first place, and nobody had to feel any sort of pressure or awkwardness or any of that kind of stuff. Like that's just how I feel about gift giving to adults in general. Like if you got some I thought of you random thing, or like I think they'll really like this because I was in this place and whatever, like cool, like spontaneous, random, great. But like something tied to a date or something super arbitrary like that feels forced, it just doesn't go very well, at least not for me in particular. So that's kind of what we do in my family anyway.
So I will tell you guys that you are in contrast to the 130 office managers that replied to this about the importance of celebrating these birthdays.
Man.
No, I'll celebrate a work anniversary. Absolutely.
I hated, I hate people in general. So like, it was always such a pain in the butt to like do all of this. I think at some point I was like, okay, office manager, you handle it. Like, if you guys want to celebrate, like, go right ahead. I don't care. Like, you buy the cake or the cupcakes or whatever, get all the cards. Like, I will contribute with my gift card to you, and that is pretty much it. But even that, like, come on. Like, you don't get me anything.
Ask anyone on my team if we're doing a potluck or we're doing a birthday celebration. They don't even ask me. They just say, can you just make sure to get the cups and, like, the pop or the soda? Like, that is my job. I am utensils, disposables, and like soda. Right. And my contribution is like, is everyone cool? What does everyone want? Does everyone want like a Diet Coke and a regular Coke? And maybe if we're getting adventurous, we'll throw in like a Sprite or a Dr. Pepper. But like that's the extent of my decision making that I want to do. Yeah. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on just like standardizing it? Right? Like if we know it's not going to provide potentially a ton of value, where I think it's bullcrap if it's like, why do you work at this office? Oh, I still work here because they celebrate my birthday, right? Like, I don't think that's... I learned early on, and this is one thing from Alex that, like... And honestly, probably I would have learned it from you, Brennon, and from you, Deren, because I feel like you three are very more similar, probably, and I'm like the weird outlier, just in terms of, like, how we think with that stuff. But I was more like, yeah, if I get stuff for their birthday, if I do this for them, if I tell them they're awesome all the time, that's great. They're going to stay, right? And that's going to be awesome. That never happened. I felt like I spent a ton of energy trying to make everyone happy all the time. But at the end of the day, either I would do one specific thing that like pissed someone off and then it was like ruined, right? Or, unintentionally I did something wrong. Or they found a job that paid more, right? And I couldn't pay them and they still left. So this bucket or this bank account of just like goodwill that I thought I was creating actually didn't exist. And like, so that was hard for me for a while because I think I crave more like relationships, right, with people, and I want everyone to be my best friend. And so that was hard as an owner to try to get over that point. And I kind of had to just get callous to it and was like, this isn't what I want, but this is reality. So I just have to kind of accept it. But I think with birthdays, it would be maybe just standardize it. Like, hey, we will get you a cake on your birthday. You get to pick what cake you want, right? Like it's what we do with our kids. What cake do you want, right? But I think if you keep that kind of stuff just standard, and it's like, this is what we're doing. Don't ask for anything more. Don't ask for anything less. This is what you're getting. You can make a choice, right? Like you're almost treating it like a child. You get your choice, and that's what we'll do. And we'll celebrate it just very standard. So then there isn't office drama of so-and-so got this and I didn't.
So out of those 120 comments, like, were people saying that makes office culture like good? Like, is what was that the gist of it? Or like, where is this coming from?
Very, very much so. That it's necessary for office culture. It shows you appreciate your employees, that you think about them. You guys are definitely, in terms of the office manager's reply to this, you guys are the extreme minority.
Because I wonder who's posting.
Yeah, well, who's posting this? The person that...
Who's commenting? Yeah. It's like all the people that are like, I just celebrated my birthday. Like none of the owners.
Are business owners commenting on this? Or is it...
Probably not business owners.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as that thing got some momentum, nobody wanted to jump in opposition for sure.
Oh, yeah, that's always scary.
You'd be the a-hole that's like, I don't celebrate birthdays.
Yeah. And then you get some comment where someone probably just went really hard back at you, right? And was like, you suck, your wife hates you, and you're a loser, right? So yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
that
kind of goes back to what...
I think gift, I forgot what book you guys might know. There was some book I know that was popular like a little while back on like the concept of how people are motivated, like intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, and just giving people more like just because gifts, right? And that takes a little bit more energy and effort. So my thought is if you're giving someone a gift and they believe that took you more energy or effort, then they probably appreciate it more. That is probably the difference between men and women and why women understand that better, right? Like talk to like if it's Alex or like your guys' wives, right? Like they probably want to know more that you were spending time and energy thinking about them versus what the actual gift is, right? Versus just like, oh, they got me something, but I know they just went into like their local grocery store and just picked the first thing of flowers they saw, right? Like, so I would think you would treat employees the same way, especially if the mix of your employees skews more female, right? That probably would make more sense.
I just think it's also a slippery slope. Like you start celebrating birthdays and then they want the day off for their birthdays and then the birthday comes and they want a raise. Like come on. Like we gotta
you guys ever read If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, right? I feel like it's that.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, that does happen.
So bad idea. Yeah. We all know Eric wants more friends. If you're enjoying this episode, share the podcast and then tell them to DM Eric so he can hit his quota of one new friend per day. Now back to the episode.
So this kind of ties into something that was mentioned earlier. The post just said ideas beyond dental after burnout, which kind of leads into my question of why does it seem so many dentists want to do everything except dentistry?
Yeah. That and
I don't know. We're all guilty of that too. I don't know.
Yeah, but ours comes
everybody here is guilty of it. Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
We're all guilty of that, but like hiding behind the burnout thing, like, I don't know, that's getting kind of old, I think. Like we weren't burnt out. We were just like, hey, there's other stuff here that's like super fun that we could do. And it, turned out to be a little harder.
So I think, and I think that's a challenge like maybe we're dealing with, Deren's dealing with, Brennon probably looks at us and is like, I told you guys this wouldn't be that easy,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Like, honestly, like after years of like trying to develop like software, like for your stuff and for my stuff, like it's way harder. Like get me back in the chair. Like let me be a dentist. That's like super easy. So if you're burnt out, like unless you're going to go work at like Starbucks or something, like it is also really hard.
Yeah. So I think that's tough, right? Like you say, like, I think to your point is people think, dentistry's tough. I'm burnt out. I don't like it. The patients piss me off. I don't like it. Well, whatever it is. Yeah. But then that's their baseline. Like they don't want to go below what they were making. They don't want to go below the amount of work. They think, oh, I've seen, like, it's just like the social media culture, right? Like they saw someone post on Facebook and they believe that this person goes and speaks at events and makes $1 million a year because that person said they do. And they have all these likes and comments and they think, oh, wow. This person either looks like me, seems like me. They're a dentist like me. Oh, I could just do that too. And I think it's one of those, like, the grass isn't always greener, right? Like, that person who's like an influencer, like, probably pays for manufactured importance, right? Like they force the importance even if it doesn't exist organically, right? It would be like a dentist saying, I do $10 million in production, and you can say whatever the hell you want. But like, if you looked at it, is that gross production? Yeah, right? Sure. Is that like actually what you're doing? So I think people lie about how successful they are in general. Like everyone does. Everyone inflates stuff, right? And so I think dentists
show me your bank account.
I think dentists just think that they've seen someone else do it, and that person makes it look easy. So they think,
it's like, what's the saying? It's like it took 10 years to become like an overnight success.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, because it's hard work. So anyway, back to the post. So it was like, what are the things to do?
It's definitely exacerbated by social media these days. Like you said, like everybody can fake whatever they have going on. Like until you like really show the behind the scenes proof of your success or whatever, like anybody can say anything. Back to Brennon's original comments about developers making $500,000. Like it's the vocal minority or the people trying to, pose as something that they're not. Those are the ones that you hear about. It's not the normal person who just like makes a normal version of the salary in your field. Those aren't the ones that are talking about it because that's just normal or typical. There's nothing to really brag about or discuss there. So I think that's kind of the issue too, is it's a very vocal minority that want to show you how much better they are, or different things they're doing or whatever. And that's not reality, maybe even for them, but definitely not reality for the majority of people.
Okay. So like my perspective, like this is probably going back to like, why did I say I don't want to do dentistry after a while, right?
Do we have how many minutes?
Yeah, how many hours do we have left? No. So I think for me, right, I kind of knew early on, like 20, 30 years, this isn't something I want to do. I can jump. I think we were talking with Paul Goodman on it, right? And he said he was like, I think he said like, one of his coaches said he was like mentally flexible, meaning like he could do 1,000 different things and be happy doing those. That's probably my personality more too. Like, I remember some dentist was telling me, they're like, but I wouldn't know what to do if I sold my practice, my identity. And I was like, dude, here's 50 things right now you could do. And like, I could list off like 10 to 50 things I'd rather do, right? Like, that's just how my mind works. Like, I want to do a ton of different things. So I think that's where maybe my perspective came from. But I think what it took me forever to realize, and I'm still not good at it, and it's something that like you guys are all very good at it, is you guys, your top line of anything is like work hard, right? Like when Brennon started Flex, like, and we didn't know him, we just signed up for Flex, right? Like we would talk to you as the support guy, and it was like just you. So like you put in the time, you put in the effort, like you built a product that was good and you put a lot of energy and effort into it. And so I think maybe a lot of us dentists, or like me too, was saying more like, hey, I'm kind of being lazy. I don't really want to do dentistry. I need to go find something else to do. I think first what you need to focus on is I need to figure out how to work hard and be successful. And then I can apply that to other things, right? And if it fits, then I'll start with that at the top. Because like, man, I mean, Brennon, what were your working hours when you started Flex? Just so everyone know, because everyone should know this when like they complain and bitch, and it's like you had a good product, you made a lot of money doing it, and you had a successful company. But like, how much time did you put into Flex?
I mean, I would get like 4 to 5 hours sleep a night, and any time that wasn't when I was asleep were working hours. Just realistically speaking, all the time.
Yeah, I mean, when did you told me when did you take Like, what were your hours of taking support calls?
I mean, I would get woken up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning by East Coast offices. I would just sleep with my cell phone next to my pillow to make sure it would wake me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the big. Yeah. Go ahead. No. I was just.
I was going to say I have a little bit of a different theory potentially to explain why there's so many dentists that are trying to dip their toes into other waters, and I think of it kind of like when somebody gets married really, really young, right? Like, let's say like right out of high school, they're 18 years old, marrying their high school sweetheart. And then like a decade later, they kind of have this crisis of like, well, I never really like explored the world or, tried dating around and that sort of thing. So, like my wife, Jen, she knew she wanted to be a dentist, like from 12 years old. And like everything leading up to her graduating dental school was all geared towards going to dental school and becoming a dentist. And so like when your whole life has been built up around becoming something, and then you get into it and you're like, is this really the best? Is this really what I want to do? Maybe you guys can offer, more insight on that than I can, but that's just kind of what I was kicking around in my head.
Maybe it's like, putting it on a pedestal that this is like the best job ever and you're going to feel so rewarded and all of this stuff and people are going to love you. And that's not the reality with any job, I don't think. It's kind of like there's downsides to everything.
Remember when we went to the Dykema conference a couple years ago or a few years ago, and they had Andre Agassi was there, and he was talking about his story and his whole thing. I don't know if anyone familiar with like Andre Agassi or like follows tennis, but like he was in the 90s, he was like with like Pete Sampras. They were like 1 and 2. They were like the top in the world, right? And he said his whole upbringing, his dad was very, very strict and was like, you are going to be the best tennis player ever. So when he was a kid, that was like his goal. You're going to be number 1 in the world. So he worked his like ass off, right? He got to number 1, and then he said he got super depressed because he woke up on Monday morning and nothing changed. He had this whole like idea of what his life was going to be like when he hit this one goal. And then, he said he started, I think it was like abusing, his ranking dropped like crazy, and he almost had to like reinvent himself, and he had to find like new purpose in his life, right? And so he had to create more value in his life than just being a tennis player. I almost said just being a dentist, right? But just like for our perspective. So I don't know, maybe in Jen's perspective, it's like you're so hyper focused on one thing and you think it's going to lead to this thing. And then you get there and you're like, you have this like moment of like, wait, this isn't everything I thought it was going to be. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, for her, she loved practicing dentistry, but I just mean, in general, if that was something where it's like, I never got to try other things and see, if there's anything else that I was interested in.
I mean, maybe it could be just...
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
My thoughts on it are kind of a mix of what you guys have said, which is I think part of it is we do like very similar things every day. Like the repetition of it is sometimes a positive. Like I kind of get this muscle memory, but at some point when it becomes 10, 20, 30 years, it's like, is this really what I'm going to do forever? And the other part kind of going what you said earlier, Eric, which is like the buckets of money that you kind of have started to think about. Like, those are the hats you wear while you're there. And no matter how much you maybe have the personality for being a dentist with your head down in a mouth, like working in micrometers and all the things, you can't avoid personalities, personnel, people telling you that they hate you because of previous past experiences. Like you have to do that stuff. Even if you're not the owner, like there's, infighting and, preferences and personalities that you got to deal with and navigate the day with. And you can't escape that part. And it's really hard to select for the person who is willing to have that repetition and clinical and scientific approach, who's also got some personality and is personable and can do those interpersonal skills and somehow wear both of those hats and be a functional human. Like that's a really big challenge. And so you usually get one or the other. And so you got somebody who's schmoozy and, patients love them and their work is terrible, but they still keep coming back. And you're like, how's this guy even have a job? Like his crowns don't fit and they fall off the next day, but like patients love him. Or you got somebody who's like a hand god, but they can't get their business going because they have no idea how to talk to people or hire people or any of the things. And so to find somebody somewhere in the middle or high up on both of those scales is the challenge. That's why a lot of people get tired of dentistry, in my opinion, is like all of that stuff together, where they just are tired of the repetition. They're tired of the things they got no training for or don't have the, personality for to actually be able to accomplish everything it takes to be a dentist.
Well, it's so unique. Like, dentistry is so unique because, like, someone we know owns a car business, right? Like, and this shows how much I know about cars. I think they fix them. They fix cars. So oil changes and fixing things, right? But they are like the owners, right? They might sometimes be at the front, but they're not also the mechanics. They're not like all that. They're not all the other pieces that go into a car fixing thing, right? But
just stick to dentistry.
Yeah, let's stick to dentistry. But in dentistry, right? It's your, like, as sports analogies, right? Like all of our favorite things, Alex, right? It's
Fantastic.
like you're the owner. You're the GM, you're the coach, you're one of the players, you're probably the ball boy. Sometimes you're also taking tickets. There's all those pieces that you have to do, and we don't delegate it out to other people. Now, I don't know the reason why we don't do that. If we're kind of greedy as dentists and we're like, we want to just get as much money as we can. So it's like, I'll just do it because I'll make more. I don't know if that's the reason why we do it, if we just don't have the skill set. Or if at its core, how a lot of healthcare is set up where owner and clinician are the same thing, if that is just at its core not a good model, right? And it should be separated, like, completely. That doesn't mean that, like, DSO should take over the world and private equity shouldn't run that, but, like, maybe there needs to be something where it's like you have to pick which path you're going to go. That's been, like, my, like, little existential thoughts after selling the practice, is like that piece.
Right. Well, we solved that too. Fantastic.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Well, that was kind of fun to do.
Yeah.
I just had, for us at least, it's fun. We just get to talk to our friends for like an hour.
Yeah.
But no, I am sure there are thousands more topics. So what we'll do is maybe we'll have to post on our thing and see if there's any other. We should get people to like post some of their stuff and then we can talk about it. That would be fun. That would be ideal. But yeah, Thanks for coming on. It's always fun just to shoot the shit with you guys. So thanks.
Yeah, anytime.
Thanks, guys.